Hey everyone, welcome back. Welcome to another Clip Studio Paint kind of tutorial. I'm going to show you a couple things. So last time we left off, I just finished the Wolverine drawing, but you might have noticed there was a couple things missing. And those would be the claws. And hold on. There we go. Like a sportscaster. So the claws, right? The most important part of Wolverine. Uh, so, or definitely the most distinctive part of Wolverine. And the reason is I've always questioned the length of his blades. Um, I've always thought they were too long, and that's because, as I understood it, the blades reside in his forearms here, and he just ejects them out. I don't know if it's a mechanical thing that was done during Weapon X, or if it was muscles that protrude, because his claws got retconned into being bones later on. But anyways, and what troubled me was that I always, every time I thought about it, it's like he could never bend his wrist and eject his claws at the same time. Now, I don't know why, it just didn't, for me, it just wouldn't make sense that nature would do that. I mean, you can't explain it. It could be like a muscle kind of memory thing where it's like a failsafe where his claws won't protrude if his wrist is bent. But to me, it just wouldn't seem like nature would do that. So my only other thing was that what if the claws were on top of his hand? That way, it didn't matter which angle his wrist was bent, his claws could always come out. So the only thing about that is if it's on his wrist, they're going to be short, and if they're in his forearms, they're going to be long. But I will say that some comic book artists, they draw him like longer than his forearm, so it kind of makes you wonder like where the heck is he storing these blades. But in either case, so one of the things I like about layers is that you can play out multiple scenarios. So here's what it would look like with short claws, and I kind of like it because all these flares on his uniform are kind of short. He doesn't have the big flaring mask that he usually has. And then so I drew these with long claws, although maybe they could be a little bit longer. Let me try something out real quick. Let me use these green lines here to measure out how long they would actually be. So this is another thing I like using Clip Studio Paint for, or any digital software really, is that you can try these little experiments out with drawing and not mess up your drawing. So I'm just gonna copy or just use a selection tool to select that line, that green line, and move it. And I think, you know what? Let me hit escape and start from the beginning. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that green line as long as it possibly can. Let me select the same color, and I'm going to take it just right below the elbow. So this is from just below his elbow to just above his wrist. That's how long the blades can be. I'm going to select it again and rotate it a little bit so it lines up. So yeah, I can make them just slightly longer. So what I'm going to do is hit enter. I'm going to keep that line there, but I'm also going to draw a blue line to indicate how long I need to draw the blades. Okay, yeah, there we go. And then hit deselect. Okay, so now I'm going to choose a different color, blue, and choose a different layer and draw a blue line here. Actually, oh, you know what? I'm in the same layer. Let me I need to change layers. Change the layer. There we go. And I'll draw a blue line there. Now I can get rid of the green line. Now, what I'm going to do is create another layer, a totally separate layer, where I'm going to draw the long claws again. So just make a new layer and put it on top of the old layer called long claws, and I'm going to lower the opacity of the original one, the long claws, and then I'm just going to go onto my my new layer. Oh, wait. Yeah, I need to go onto the new layer. There we go. And then I'm just going to draw over it, and so keeping the same position as that original layer. You know what? Turn down the opacity of the original drawing too, just so I can see a little bit better. So I'm just going to follow this line here, but I'm going to take it all the way to that blue marker that I put down there, and I'll just draw one claw. And I'll try to line it up as best I can. So yeah, some artists, I mean, they take huge liberties with the Wolverine's claws. I mean, just if you guys are fans of the 90s comic books, especially Wolverine comic books, I mean, they went all out. His hair, his claws, I mean, he was a wild man. So now I can get rid of the blue mark. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the wand, the magic wand, and then select inside the claw, and then hold down the shift button. I'm supposed to hold down the shift button. A little plus sign comes next to my wand, and it lets me select more areas. Then I'll just dump some white paint in there. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of drawing the other two blades, I'm just going to copy this blade here. Copy it twice, and that way all my blades will look the same. And for me, I like that because sometimes I can't draw, something that's supposed to be the same. I can't draw it exactly, so instead of just fighting over that, I'll just copy it twice, and then I'll just move it. And when you copy something, it creates a new layer for you. So yeah, I want to save that. But then what you got to do is remember, you got to move back to the original where you originally copied it, because that other copy is on top of that first blade. So I'll just move it again, and then make sure I'm in the right layer where my copy was, and I'll just move it down. I'll hit enter, and then deselect. And so there's my three blades. And then what I can do is I'll just merge those blades together. I'll call the layer long claws, and I can then delete the other layer because I no longer need that. But I'm still keeping the short claw layer because I want to see what it looks like at the end. Because I kind of like the short claws, but that's just me, I guess. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It has long claws, so there's the short claws. I really like the short claws. I don't know, for me, it makes him seem like he's a real close quarter combat kind of soldier or mutant or whatever he is. So yeah, I really like the short claws. But I have a feeling that a lot of avid Wolverine fans are just gonna go crazy if I do short claws. So I'm gonna go ahead and do long claws. Another thing I'm gonna do is I clipped the tip of that. So select it again. I'm still in the long claw layer, and select all three of the claws. Copy it, and what I'm going to do is move that copy over to the other hand, and I'm gonna place those little three nibs that are on top of his palm. I'm gonna place them close to where I think those three are gonna be, and I kind of like the curve of the blade in an upward position, but I think it would be better the other way if it was arcing. So I'm just gonna flip them and then rotate it a little bit so it matches his palm, and then move it down. And I'm just guessing as to where those 3 little nibs are supposed to be. Now you can draw them, but again, I like to keep them all the same, and this is to me the easiest way to make everything, make sure everything is the same. And okay, so you see the blades are on top of Hulk's face. And you can erase them for sure, but what I'm going to do is move the Hulk folder on top of the Wolverine folder. That way my Hulk drawing will be on top of my Wolverine. And I'm not going to erase the blades because when I color the Hulk, the color will be on top of the blades, so you won't be able to see them. But you got to make sure you want to put the color layer below your line layer, because if not, your colors are going to be on top of your black lines and you won't be able to see them. So I'll move that layer below the line and I'll just call it color. And so when I start drawing the color on the Hulk, you'll see the black lines will still be on top and my colors will be over the blades, so you won't be able to see the blades. And the reason I'm keeping the blades is because when I finish the drawing and I decide, hey, you know what, I want to scale down Wolverine, I can still select all of Wolverine, and when I scale him down, the blades will still be there. I mean, it's not much. I mean, I can easily redraw the tips of the blade, but just for me, I'm gonna keep the blades there. So let's see. So yeah, that's the next thing. Obviously, you're not going to be able to see the top of those blades there. So, oh, another thing, I merged the two long blade layers, so they're one layer again. So now I'm going to erase this part of the blades here, because for sure there's no way for me to rotate the drawing without redrawing everything. So this can be erased, unlike the blades on top of the Hulk there. So for sure these you will never see this part of the blades, so this can be erased. And now what I want to do also is I want to make sure that these blades are closed off. But by closed off, I mean you see how they're open-ended here? What I want to do is close these off by just drawing black lines to connect them. That way for sure the blades will be closed off. And so when you use a selection tool and you click the blades, you can put them any color you want. Right now I have them colored white. I know it's hard to tell with the white background, but I would strongly suggest you color everything. Even when something's supposed to be white and it looks white, just remember that your paper's white. That's why it looks white. So if I were to go to the paper layer and click the little eyeball, you'll see that it's really not white. I mean, the paper is white, but when you remove the paper's color, or the paper altogether, you'll see these little check marks, which means it's transparent. It's there's no color there. So one thing you can do is change the paper's color, so that you can see exactly what's going on. And you can do that by coming over here and see. So you can see that the claws are white, and you can change it to another color, purple maybe. And you can see the Hulk's eye is also not white, so I'm gonna have to add some white in his eyes too. Otherwise it would just be the color of whatever the paper is. So just go back to white. So yeah, that's I would suggest, because when I start doing coloring, I might choose an off-white for the background, just so I know what exactly the colors I'm using on everything, including the color white. So Yeah, I don't know. I kind of like the short claws. Let me hold on. Let me choose a color here, orange. And you see, I didn't color the little ones up there. So let me color those in again. I'm going to deselect the Wolverine drawing, and you can see I didn't close them off. So I need to close them off. And I'll show you. I'll leave the last one open, and so I'll grab my magic wand and I'll click inside the blade, and you can't. Okay, so it selected everything except the other two little blades. So let me do that. Let me zoom in. So when I click this blade here, see everything in orange is selected. That means if I were to dump color, it would change everything orange except the orange inside the little blades. So that's why it's important you close it off. So I selected this one little blade, and I go in, select the color white, and this little paint bucket here, click it, and it'll fill it whatever's selected. So yeah, it's very important that you close off the your little sections, and then what you can do is also by holding down the shift button when you have your magic wand, you can select multiple little sections, so that you can just pick the color white and click the bucket, and then everything that you selected will turn white. I have a shorter tutorial video on selection tool. I'll put a link in the description further explaining that selection tool, because there's also the lasso, which is a very popular selection tool. But yeah, so that's gonna do it for this little tutorial video. Hope you enjoyed. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. And the next video will have me. It'll be a speed drawing of me coloring this whole the drawing. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you guys in the next one.